Okay, look, here goes. Those of you that have been subscribed to the channel, you know I'm not this guy, but I'm going to be this guy for a second, okay? We're throwing out rich in the tagline, okay? Why is being rich with Bitcoin different? Why is Bitcoin rich different? Here's why. I've been asked this question a lot, just kind of like, how do we know that Bitcoin will actually change the world? Or how is it different? Someone, if a whole class of people, amass their wealth and amass, affluence through Bitcoin, how is that any different than what the world already has with like the wealth gap and just haves and the have-nots or whatever, right? Like, why is it different, right? Here's why it's different. Because Bitcoin is inherently fair. The monetary policy of Bitcoin is open source and known for the entire world to know, and a small group of people is not able to control it, right? Like right now, everyone's expecting this like Fed rate cut to happen, right? What is that? Like what actually is that? What does that mean? That means there's a small group of insiders that choose the price of money for effectively the rest of the world. Because the dollar is the reserve currency of the world, all the markets in the world look at what the actions of a small group of individuals do, right? So there's inherently a lot of just problems that come across that, right? So we can tackle kind of the details of all of that in a different video, or you can get it from another channel or whatever. But like, it's true that that's literally the way that fiat money works, right? And Bitcoin literally works differently. So that's number one to know. A second thing to know, and I've been saying this more and more, and it's been connecting with people, is that this is kind of like classic. Young people have a certain view of how the world works, right? And then as you get older, you moderate that view of how the world works. And it doesn't matter. You can start out at either ends of like the like stereotypical spectrum, right? Of like political thought. And it doesn't matter. As you get older, most of the time you move to the middle and move to the middle. And I should say, like, again, or you stay whatever your traditional bias is, but you moderate it and soften it normally as you get older, okay? Throughout history, throughout different social movements, if you take the anti-status quo position, or here's my reason for why I believe that happens. Why I believe that happens, again, speaking of giant averages, why people moderate, it's because you have more to lose. You have more to lose. You gain a certain level of comfort, and then you have more to lose. And so your positions on things become less extreme. Whereas when you're young, you view the world through a very kind of like black and white lens of like, this is good, this is bad, or whatever. And you can take kind of the most idealistic view of everything because you don't have a ton of life experience. As you gain more and more life experience, you kind of find these edge cases all over the place. And there's edge cases all over the place. And you have more to lose from taking kind of an extreme, like idealistic view of how the world should work, right? Like you can hope and wish and pray that was how the world works. But then as you grow up, you are kind of almost like punched in the face with a lot of facts about how influence, and decisions and things like work in the world, right? So you can protest, you can do things, you can be an activist, and you can say the world should be like X. X is bad, the world should be like this, right? Most of the time, if you take an anti-status quo position, or even if you do any sort of activism, like going to a protest costs you time, you have to take off work, you can't do other things with your family or your friends that day. So there is a cost to it. There's a cost to protesting, right? There's a cost, a part of taking the anti-status quo position. Bitcoin effectively like pays you to take the anti-status quo position. Like the position is that Bitcoin is fundamentally better than fiat money, right? And I can say that as a theory and a philosophy, and that's fine. And there's lots of videos about the theory and the philosophy of that. But say you believe in that theory and philosophy, right? You can actually like financially benefit from that being correct. You can financially benefit, your purchasing power can go up, your net worth can go up from being correct. And so when you pair both those things together of having like a pro-society, anti-status quo message or like thesis that the world would operate better like this, that is way different than any time in humanity. Like a lot of times kind of this whole thing of like what's good for society, and like what's good for the individual. Like there's tension there, right? And different political thoughts, like different lots of thoughts about like which is higher, the individual or society or whatever. Bitcoin just slices through all of those old paradigms. It slices through all of the old paradigms. Bitcoin is extremely beneficial to you as an individual because it's better than fiat money. Bitcoin is extremely beneficial to society because society exiting from the control, again, of the small group of people that control the monetary policy is great, right? And then you can benefit from being an early adopter of that. And there's no cap really on the early adopters because of the way that Bitcoin works and because of the way the monetary policy works. There's no, like if you're an early, shareholder of a company, the company can issue more shares. If you are like real estate, like they can always build more houses, like XYZ other thing, alternative investments, or like people like to talk about The Big Short, like the movie, right? The Big Short. Like there was a subsection of investors that saw that this is bad and this is coming, and they were able to position their investments accordingly, right? But that boat, the amount of people that would have been able to do that is not very large. It's just like being at a casino. Like you're playing, there's one house and there's one thing. You're playing against the pool of other people, right? Bitcoin, as the network grows, being early or being late or being anywhere along the line literally raises up. There's that saying of like a rising tide lifts all boats. Like actually true with Bitcoin, because what you're effectively doing by switching from fiat money over to Bitcoin is you're effectively plugging the hole in the bucket. You're plugging the hole in the bucket. My parents, my grandparents, everyone like before us would work and work and work, but there was a hole in the bottom of the fiat bucket. The currency itself is losing purchasing power. The amount of dollar units required to buy each thing is constantly going up. It's structurally built like that, and it's very complicated, and it's very hard, and it's very subtle, which is why I think that it creates such which is why it's hard for everyone to wrap their heads around this, right? But so that's the main thing. Like that's why being Bitcoin rich is different, because it's literally a bet on something that is also improving all of society, and there's no cap. In fact, it's self-reinforcing. The more people that switch from their primary currency, and the primary currency they care about is the dollar, to the primary currency they care about, primary currency they work for is Bitcoin, the stronger the Bitcoin network grows. Effectively right now, there's two buckets. It's like people that work for dollars or people that work for Bitcoin. And you have to you now can have currency choice. You don't have to work for the dollar if you don't want to. You can work for Bitcoin. And that's why being rich in Bitcoin is different, because it increases the influence of the entire network. It increases the influence of you as a person. And it's great for all of society. Hasn't really ever been anything exactly like that. So this is a little different. I threw out the headline. We're getting rich. Okay, guys? So watch this next one. Hit the like button. We'll see you later.